Alright, I'm making yet another push to try to revive this channel. In the past, I've stopped uploading here over and over again because I kept focusing on the main channel, but there's some things that I would like to talk about that just don't really fit on the main channel, and I'll try again to be more active here. We'll see how it goes. As you can tell by the title, this is going to be a reaction video, just not in the sense of just sitting there watching, making faces, but it's more like commentary. And this is something I don't usually get sucked into. Documentaries about the downfall of people. I don't really care usually, but for some reason, YouTube recommended it to me. For some reason, on a whim, I decided to start watching it, and then I guess it's the train wreck effect when you can't look away, you know what I mean? And there's a lot to unpack. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing on camera, just a few things to comment on here and there. All right, so The Dark, Sad Life of Boogie2988 by Mike Clum. Let's go.
When I'm on my deathbed, the biggest regret I will ever have is knowing that I had a job that every person in the world would fucking kill for. And I fucked it up.
I understand the sentiment here, but I don't think everybody in the world would want this, because not everybody has the inclination to be on social media. Not everybody has the, I hate to use the term talent because it's such a misnomer, but instead I'm going to say not everybody has the inclination to put enough time and effort into developing skills you need when creating content. Not everybody is creatively inclined in general, or at least not in certain ways. Some people are happier just doing routine jobs where they know they're competent at what they're doing. They're doing it every day. It's the same over and over. I mean, I guess some content creation can be sort of like that, but if you're doing it that way, you're not going to be successful for very long. You also need the ability to kind of push boundaries and try something new and engage the audience's reaction, etc., etc. You have to be able to deal with backlash and criticism that inevitably comes, and mockery and all of that. It's the internet, after all. So not everybody would want that, I think. But either way, it's still a job that a lot of people envy. This is such an odd choice to me, to record in the bathtub. I mean, for a documentary, every shot, every angle is deliberate. You know, like you don't have somebody barge into your bathroom while you're taking a bath and they're like, hey, you want to do a documentary? And you're like, yep, let's do it right now. And I'm struggling to figure out what was the intent here. So the bathtub talk is about how much money he's lost, how he's struggling to pay for expenses, this and that and the other. And that in and of itself, is totally relatable. People sometimes lose money, especially when you invest, especially into something as volatile as crypto. You're bound to lose some money. And, stuff like that happens. But then later we see that there were some really bizarre choices and straight up squandering of wealth that puts this into kind of a bad light.
Yeah, this is the hard part. Back to reality.
Maybe that was the idea, to just show he's so big he has trouble getting out of the bathtub, because like some of the documentary definitely has this fishing for pity points vibe, which normally I wouldn't want to jump to such conclusions, because we can't know about somebody else's intentions, except in this case we kind of do. He has a long history of doing that. This part I won't force you to look at.
But my best feature, this is the one the ladies love. I call it my meat apron. I have 2 meat curtains. There's a second one. I have 2 glorious meat curtains. I don't like showing it to people, and people don't like seeing it.
So then why would you show it? This is what I don't understand. Like, okay, so there are things about your body that you don't like, understandably. If you don't like it and you're aware that other people don't want to see it, why put it in a documentary? And that's kind of a running theme here. He keeps doing things that it seems, or that he says he doesn't like and he doesn't want to do, that other people don't like, but he keeps doing that. Now, okay, I can see that there are, you can have compulsive tendencies, or sometimes, especially with mental illness involved, there are things that people do that they regret afterwards, and they keep making the same mistakes. Okay. But there was a deliberate choice being made to put this in the documentary. Over $200,000 over the course of 3 years. Divided by 3, that's $66,666. That's more than a lot of people make per year. He spent that on sex workers. Again, this was deliberately disclosed and included in the documentary. Now, you have to appreciate the brutal honesty here. Like, he does not try to hide it. That you can respect that, sure. But at the same time, it's also baffling, and it just doesn't put all the rest into a good light. It's just, I'm struggling so much, finances, this and that. Okay, you spend somebody else's annual salary on hookers. This interview is brutal, like roast level over 9,000. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Man, if I had that money back, that would be half of my mortgage right now. That $1,000 is my entire health insurance payment.
And so you can always have that debate about, like, some people think you should never spend anything on temporary things or experiences or whatever. Like, some people are against traveling and this and that. They're just like, no, it's got to be an investment, or it's got to be something material that lasts or whatever. And while I can understand that point of view, I think there's nothing wrong with spending money on experiences, because there's still something that you're going to retain from that, which is, memories, if nothing else. Like, having certain experiences helps you grow as a person. Maybe not this. Maybe not hiring sex. I mean, okay, there's going to be experiences to be had. I don't know if they're necessarily going to be enriching, but, traveling, let's take that as an example. You can get a lot of enjoyment out of it. You can learn new things. You can see new places, meet new people, etc., etc. So there's definitely value in spending money on things like that. However, if you have enough funds to spend $66,666 on average per year on sex workers, why are you not putting that into your mortgage? Why do you still have a mortgage? That's what boggles my mind. Like, shouldn't that be the first thing? Like, oh, I have a bunch of money. Boom, get rid of the mortgage. Then afterwards you can indulge.
I've been playing Magic for 30 years, and some of the cards in this box I opened back in 1994. I opened them in like 96, and I've held on to them ever since. And that's they're a piece of my childhood. They're a piece of my history. I thought I was going to get buried with this stuff. This is my stuff. This is me. This is part of me.
That is sad, yeah. Having to get rid of something that you've had for so long and that you're sentimentally attached to, yeah, that sucks. Well, maybe the sex workers can use all that money to buy something that they'll get emotionally attached to.
For just a few hours, I'm not that fuck up from YouTube. I'm just Steve Williams. I'm just me. Oh.
That's very relatable to a lot of people, I imagine. The escapism, especially in current times, there is a lot of economic hardship. Is it the worst it's ever been? Obviously not. There have been way worse times in history and way more struggle, etc. But a lot of people struggle. There are people who have a full-time job and are homeless, sleep in their car or whatever, or in the office, or, there are people with 2 jobs or 3 that barely scrape by. And even if not for that, there's so many reasons to struggle in life. social problems, mental problems. They're just a bazillion sources of stress that everybody can be exposed to. And sometimes all you can do is just indulge in a little bit of escapism. Sometimes people indulge in escapism when they should be trying to find solutions, but there are plenty of situations where just people can't figure something out, are not in a position where they can fix the problems at the time, or at least not make significant progress on solving those. And yeah, sometimes you just gotta kick back and get away from it all. By the way, this is actually part of the problem. I don't mean to shame anyone who's in that frame, but who you surround yourself with has a pretty strong impact on your lifestyle and where you're at. If you surround yourself with other overweight people who have unhealthy lifestyles, probably, you're more likely to be in that spot too. And this has been shown by psychological research. So one of the things you can do if you're not satisfied with your current situation is try to socialize with people who are doing better in the area that you want to improve. So try to socialize with people who are more physically active, it's going to be difficult if you try to hang out with high performance athletes or bodybuilders or whatever. This might be extremely awkward for everybody involved. You need somebody who can push you, but not so much that you start to injure yourself and all that. But they can just kind of nudge you toward a better lifestyle and, kind of help you develop better habits and be more physically active. Again, I don't mean to deride anyone here. It's great that they have a friend circle, that they do things together that they enjoy. And, if the thing you enjoy involves sitting at a desk, then that's, of course, you're not going to get your exercise that way. And that's fine as long as you try to develop other healthy habits outside of that. And I know how difficult that is. I struggle with that a lot.
I mean, I didn't go through it. I'm still alive. She's dead. And, so fuck her. And now she's dead.
That's a lot of money, I guess, for a person of color, or is it not? I don't know.
So I definitely don't want to defend what he said. There's one thing I'd like to point out, though, which is there is this strange way on the internet in particular to expect people to be some kind of superhuman saints or whatever, where people are just shocked and outraged when somebody says something offensive or upsetting or is being an asshole, basically, in some kind of way. And they never forget that. The internet never forgets. I don't know who said that, but I've heard the quote that on the internet, you're the collection of all of your bad days. I'm paraphrasing. And that's very true. Like, you're the amalgamation of every single one of your bad days and moments and bad moods and slip-ups and, which is something that everybody does. Everybody. No exception. The difference is simply now so much is in the public eye. So what I'm saying is, if you hear or read about somebody saying something bad, in other words, something that rubs you the wrong way personally, don't be surprised. It's bound to happen. Some of your best friends say shitty things sometimes and are being assholes. We're humans. We kind of suck like that, But as long as the person reflects on it and is willing to take constructive criticism and work on themselves and grow and learn, that's fine. And I think that's kind of the problem here. Nobody is really buying that he's actively trying to do that. I mean, some people probably are, but we can't know for sure because, again, without being able to look into somebody's brain, we're never going to know their true intentions. But, when you say one thing and act in a different way over and over again, it's questionable. Let's put it that way. Then he goes through a list of medical problems that he has. Unsurprising. That kind of lifestyle, of course, over decades takes its toll, especially since he has said before that he's gone through phases, or probably more than phases, like long periods of time, where he was eating to kill himself. That's what depression will do to somebody, and it's very difficult for someone else on the outside to understand that. But yeah, it's hard to deal with, and that's why depression requires professional help, which he has been getting.
Why not use your only life to make the lives around you better? Fuck you. It's none of your fucking business. It's my body. It's my choice. Eat shit.
And
Yeah, what happened along the way?
over time, in the content, we see this shift where he starts to become more interested in money.
I just like making content. I just like talking to a camera. I just like doing cool stuff. I just want ad revenue. I just want YouTube to pay me a fair amount. It's all I've ever wanted, right?
And his concerns about money.
If I could teach you anything, it's to hold on to the money you get.
Oh, are you trying to manipulate people into giving you money?
The answer is yes. Give me some money.
Oof. Yeah, so that's a big part of what happened here. It went from wholesome and positive to destructive and self-destructive, primarily, and demanding and negative. It is good to try to be positive. It can be taken too far. There is such a thing as toxic positivity, where people will not tolerate anything negative at all. If you're struggling, you're not supposed to say it. You're supposed to smile and pretend everything is all fine and dandy. You're never supposed to point out anything bad that happened to you, or that. No, it's all got to be 100% positive. It's just, this is not healthy. All right, that's not how the human brain works. There will be things sometimes that upset us, that we struggle with, and sometimes we may have to talk about it. So somebody else policing that and being like, no negativity ever. No. But there's still a difference there. There's still a difference between saying, here's something I struggle with, or here's something that happened to me that I'm having trouble dealing with, but I'm trying to get through it. Here's some things that I'm trying to do to deal with it or get over it or whatever. Whereas in this case, it's always just, I have this problem and that problem and that problem and that problem, and there's nothing I could possibly do about it. It's perfectly fine. It's not just fine, it's sometimes necessary to ask for help, and there's no shame in it.
I will never function the way you function.
Yes, he's not wrong there. Like, somebody who has certain conditions, and depression ranks very highly there, plays with a handicap. The maximum possible potential, let's put it that way, is capped compared to somebody who doesn't have it. But the important part is to not give up trying to do the best you can with the hand you're dealt. And the vibe we're getting here is that he doesn't do that. I mean, maybe he does, but it just comes across as if he didn't, as if he was more interested in complaining about it, which is kind of a coping mechanism. If you struggle so much to make changes, and especially if you're depressed, you may just run out of energy and motivation to keep trying, and it's just like a form of learned helplessness, I suppose, where you think that there's no way you can possibly improve it meaningfully. And then the kind of self-preservation that your mind resorts to is just saying, well, it's hopeless. I can't do this. I can't. There are all these things stacked against me, and it's not my fault. Basically, it's a way of deflecting responsibility and saying, hey, I'm just screwed up. I can't do anything about it. It's not my fault. It's basically the toxic counterpart to self-acceptance. Self-acceptance is good, but this is not the same. This is sort of a perversion of that, where instead of saying, all right, this is how I am, and I'm going to have to deal with it. Instead of saying that, you're saying, this is how I am, this is why I can't do anything about it, and why even bother trying. There's the big difference. You can say, have self-acceptance by saying, these are the problems I have that I deal with. This is the hand I'm dealt, and I'm going to try to do something about it.
Right, so if there was money to be made in making people feel depressed, I think Boogie would be in the right business.
Like, that's just my life
That's
philosophy.
pretty scathing, but yeah, and that's the thing, like, there's nothing uplifting about it. I mean, I find there's a certain kind of reverse motivation going on here where I actually find it sort of inspiring and motivating in the sense that it's like an anti-role model. It's like it's showing you what not to do. And I'm sorry to put it this harshly. Like, he's depressed enough as it is without everybody telling him how horrible he is and that he does everything wrong. But this is kind of a textbook example of what not to do. I don't know the details. I'm not a psychiatrist. I know that treating depression is challenging, but that would really be the main thing. If, like, Boogie without depression would be a very different person and would be able to do more things and willing to do more things. So he talks about how much money goes toward medical bills and treatments and diagnoses and etc., prescriptions. And that's part of the problem here. That's one of the things that makes depression so vicious, that it puts you in a position where your life keeps getting harder because you don't relate to future you. Let's put it that way. And you don't care about future you. In fact, you might want to prevent future you from even existing. But then eventually you are future you. You'll arrive there eventually. And then you're in the position where you've made everything so much harder. Like you've dug a pit that's way more difficult to get out of at that point. He could have prevented all that by using his finances more responsibly, but again, he was not interested in that because he wasn't relating to the future. And this is something that I can relate to. For some people, it's easy to make plans and stick to them because they can visualize the goal. They can relate to future self. And others struggle with that. And I do the same. I struggle with that too. To my brain, basically, the future doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is the present. So if I really want something right now, like tasty, unhealthy food, it's extremely difficult to visualize that goal and say, no, this is counter to that goal. This will sabotage that goal because that goal relates to something that doesn't exist and can't really, that my mind can't grasp. You know what I mean? Like, it's on a very superficial level. I have the thought of, this is my goal, this is where I want to be. What I'm going to do now, or what I want to do right now, is running against that goal. I can process that, but it's like semantic, There's no motivational power behind it. It's just a thought. It's not motivation or emotion. It's just like, it's like reading the weather forecast. And I suspect a lot of that happened here too.
You're seeking out new work opportunities.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about your background and where you think you want to go with the experience that you already have.
I did work at a small gaming store back in 2006, 2007. I am disabled, recognized by the state of Arkansas, but also the United States government. There's that. Now, the downside...
Yeah, this is a bad start. So just pointing out one thing that you did a long time ago and then immediately going on the list of, this is what I can't do. Apparently he said that this was supposed to be an Andy Kaufman-esque bit. If that's true, again, why in a documentary? Generally, people have an expectation that a documentary is at least mostly factual, right? And the thing is, as a YouTuber, you have skills. You've developed skills. I mean, you know how to talk, you know how to entertain people, video editing skills and social media skills, etc. There's certain things that you've acquired along the way that are not just, working in a store so long ago.
That is, I am extremely depressed. So there's some mental health issues that we bring to the table.
That wasn't the question. The question was, what are you bringing to the table? The answer is, this is what's wrong with me.
And then physically, I am morbidly obese. I have no references, no work history, and no education. And when you Google my name, you might see rumors that I beat my ex-wife and I'm also a pedophile. Should mention I'm also a felon.
No, you should not mention that. I mean, I can only assume the deal here was he had no interest in it. He didn't want the job anyway. So he didn't actually try to present himself as applicable or desirable or whatever. He's just like, I have this enormous list of baggage. I can't do this. I can't do that. And I'm no good at that. And yeah, what can you expect? I mean, you've got to at least fake it till you make it. I was going to say focus on your strengths. That's again the problem with depression. If you ask a person with clinical depression, what are your strengths? They're going to tell you none, because that's how their brain operates. That's the mode that it's in, like constantly process the negative. That expression, though, she's trying to stay polite, but you just see the WTF stapled across the face. It's just like, dude.
Lots of things in life are about your mindset, and you're using weight and disability. I can't. If that is the attitude that you're going to have when you approach everything, then you can't.
Yeah, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy, basically.
You won't.
I did work in the porn industry for the better part of 7 years, so I mean...
Be real with me. Do you really think it would be a good idea to go to a real interview and reference porn?
It depended on the job.
Why do you have to think about that?
I'm not going to walk into some job when I have 4 million subscribers.
4 million subscribers. How many of which watch your content regularly? Subscriptions mean jack shit nowadays on YouTube, unfortunately. You can have several million, but if you get like 15, 20K views per video, that means nothing. And no, that's not entirely his fault. There's definitely some YouTube shenanigans. You know, algorithm changes this and failing to notify subscribers that, and a bunch of things that just sabotage you, for sure, yeah. And, you know, people just losing interest and having way too many subscriptions. You know, they're subscribed to like 150 channels and they watch like 10 regularly or whatever. There's a lot of things that go into it. But, you know, there's still the reality of it. You may have 4 million subscribers, but if they don't watch, then it doesn't mean anything, you know?
On YouTube. I'm one of the original YouTubers.
Yeah, okay. What's the point of bringing that up? It just makes you sound entitled. It just makes you sound like, you know, I did this thing and I should continue being rewarded for it. Well, if you want to keep being rewarded, then you've got to keep putting in the work. Sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes you can put in all the work and not get the results. I know what that's like. But then you got to try to find different ways. You know, just try something, try a different tactic, or, I don't know, try to improve what you do, or tailor it more to people that you think would be interested.
What I'm going to do instead is go back to making content, go back to telling stories and entertaining people and making money doing it.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I can respect sticking to your guns and sticking to what you know and what you're comfortable with and familiar with. And in some cases, that's the right thing to do. There are some people who just are naturally inclined to be content creators or artists or work in some kind of creative way, you know, one way or another. Some people just, that's what they're best at. And that's where they thrive. That's what they're meant to do, so to speak. And I totally understand, you know, wanting to stubborn it out and sticking to your passion. I'm just not sure that's the case here. Is he sticking to it because he's passionate about it or because he needs the money and doesn't know what else to do? I don't know. I can't read his mind, but I have suspicions. All right, so I skipped basically half the thing because I noticed that I'm spending way too much time on it, more than I expected. But at the end, you get to what seems like the light at the end of the tunnel, where like he has a shroom trip and has like a spiritual experience or something, and just talks very differently now.
I think I'm going to enjoy making YouTube videos again. I think I'm going to enjoy live streaming again. 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 people watch. That is still my dream job. Everybody falls off. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
Every single month.
It seems like channels, a lot of channels have sort of a half-life. For some it's more, for some it's less. But yeah, you definitely see that, a channel just rising up slowly, hitting a peak, and then dropping off. And it sucks to be in that position, especially when you're just kind of indoctrinated into this ideal of infinite growth. You always gotta grow, 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 grow. If you stagnate, that's bad. If you regress, that's, oh no, horrible. Like, it's gotta be infinite growth. And that's just not how it works. But you can still try to make the best of it that you can.
I was lucky enough to get to live my dream.
So there's that humility and that ability to appreciate what you have again that we saw in the beginning, and then that completely was replaced with entitlement and demands. And by the way, some people react cynically to this. Oh, he has a shroom trip and now he thinks everything is fixed. Totally understandable if you don't buy it. But there has been some recent research showing the efficacy of psilocybin mushrooms in the treatment of depression and other disorders. Now, usually that's, I think that's more low dose over long term, but apparently some people have also had enormous short-term improvements from just like one session or a few. So you can absolutely be cynical about it. You can be like, oh, he's just trying a different shtick now. He doesn't actually believe what he's saying. He might. It's possible that this actually did something to rearrange his brain chemistry. We'll see, I guess. Time will tell. Well, apparently there's already been some new drama, so not going too well yet. Yeah, so this is my first foray into this type of reaction commentary content. We'll see how it goes. If you folks enjoy it, I might do more. This channel is currently completely demonetized because I haven't uploaded in too long, so I would have to try to build it up and see where it goes. But yeah, let me know what you think. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and safe travels through the wastelands of life.